People of God said amen. Amen. We are just excited this morning. We have Sister Rush back. Give God some praise. I know you all have. We're just glad to have her. Not only Sister Rush back, but God has delivered Walter back to us. And I'm sure enough, I'm happy to see Walter. God bless you. We just thank God for you. Savior here with her family. We just thank God for all that he's done. So being mindful of Sister Rush's situation, we're going to get up and try to get through this message, but we're just glad to see each and every one of you. Thank you, those of you that have on your McAllen t-shirts and your purple, we thank God for you. And those of you that have her in your heart, we're thankful for you as well. We've been dealing with how can I ever change, dealing with life circumstances. And we told you that we all start out with a problem by conception. If you're born, you got a problem. Well. And then we talked about the fact that we go through crisis. After our conception, we go through crisis. We seem to go from one problem or another because, in fact, if we don't have a problem, we are a problem. And so we start talking about the things that we go through. And then we talked about when we go through crisis, Jacob. You remember Jacob was a crook. He beat his brother out of his stuff. He beat his uncle out of his stuff. And then we found out, though, that he got it from his family because his uncle was a crook. And then we found out he went through the crisis with his brother. He went through the crisis with his uncle. And then he found had a crisis he had to face by himself. We found him wrestling with what is called a man. And God always gives us a crisis that we have to deal with by ourselves. Can't nobody help you with this thing but God. And so then we talked about the fact that when you get into a crisis, if you really want to change, you got to show some commitment because God's not going to change your circumstances right away. Sometimes you got to go through some junk stuff and some things before you come out of it. It's just like our children. Our children can ask us for something, but we don't always give it to them immediately. Sometimes we want to see how bad they really want it. Now we're at the final step of change, and that's cooperation with God. When we start to deal with God, we start to deal with cooperation with God. That's some stuff we would go ahead and change the slide. It's not working on the phone. There it is. It's back up. Thank you, God. Jacob began to wrestle with the man. He says, "Please tell me your name." Jacob said, "What do you?" And so the man says, "Why do you want to know my name?" And the man replied, then he blessed Jacob there. All you need to know is that you are blessed. Yeah. Huh? Because remember, Jacob said, in the text, Jacob said, "I'm not going to let go until you bless me." And so Jacob says, now what's your name? But you remember he made Jacob make a confession. He made Jacob make a confession. He said, what's your name? And Jacob said, "My name is Jacob," and which means he was a con man. Jacob means trickster, con man. He said, "Well, you're no longer Jacob, you are now Israel," which means born of God or from God. And so when you acknowledge, you got to make a confession of who you are. And when our lives begin to change, we want who or what blessed us to tell us who they are. But the reality is you may never know the name of the person. You may never even know the name of the thing that bless you. Sometimes folk are working in the background to bless you, and you don't even know it. You think you got it on your own, but somebody was in the background. God put them in the background to be a blessing to you. So Jacob, the man didn't give Jacob his name. He said, "You don't need to know my name. I'm just going to bless you." So what happens is, since the man didn't give him a name, Jacob gave him a name in the womb. See, and here's, I need to back up. Let me slow. I'm trying to hurry up. But I need to slow something. The text said, I want you to notice something here. The text says, the man replied. Well, Bumpang, you've been saying angel. Why do you say angel? Well, I'm going to show you why I say angel. See, you can't just read the text and not go back to the context and do some history on it. Well, what does Hosea say? In the womb, he grasped his brother's heel. As a man, he struggled with God. Isn't that where we came to at this point? Who grabbed his brother's heel? Jacob. Now he's at the point where he's struggling with God. He struggled with an angel and overcame him. He wept and begged for his favor. Sometimes you got to... See, I ain't been saved as long as y'all. Every now and then, I remember, you know what, there's 5 guys that y'all Temptation. One of my favorite songs was Ain't Too Proud to Beg. Sometimes you got to get to a point in your life where you ain't. And watch what he says. He says he found him at where? Bethel, and talked with him there. The Lord God Almighty, the Lord is his name. Well, where did he find him? He found him at Bethel. Notice the text says, don't miss this, he found him at Bethel. Well, what does Bethel mean? Beth means house. El means God, or house of God. If you ever gonna find your blessing, you have to show up at God's house. I know folks tell you, you ain't got to go to church. No, you ain't got to go to church, but if you want to be blessed, if you want to eat dinner at my house, you got to show up at my house. You can even if you get it to go. Even if you get it to go, you still got to go to McDonald's to get it. If you ever want to change, you got to go to God's house. And what's going to happen is, when you get to God's house, you're going to find a bunch of folk just like you that need to change. Notice the parallel here. Now, the text says that the text called the man, the person a man. Hosea calls him God, and then an angel. Well, what's the significance of this? Angel means messenger, thus he was a representative of God. So what happens is, Jacob wasn't wrong when he said, I wrestled with God, even though it was a man who was an angel. So we can conclude, Jacob wrestled with a messenger from God, and in so doing, it was equivalent to wrestling with God himself. Because anytime we argue or fight against or argue with a true messenger from God, you actually fight God. That's why I stay on you about listening to your elders and listening to, when you fight with a true messenger from God, it is equivalent to fight God. Let me give you some scripture, y'all looking at me funny. Then Jesus said to the disciples, anyone who accepts your message is accepting me. Anyone who rejects your message is rejecting me. And anyone who rejects me is rejecting what? So you got to learn to cooperate with God. The message you get may not be the one you want, but it definitely will be the one you need. And the thing about it is, you need to cooperate with God because you got yourself in this mess in the first place. If we knew how to stay out of situations, we wouldn't find ourselves in situations. And the thing we need to understand, we can't argue with folks about our perceptions of God's word, our own perceptions of God's word. That's why your preacher ought to know a little bit more than you know. Otherwise, I have no business. Are you saying I'm smarter than everybody? I didn't say I was smarter than everybody, but I ought to study more. Because I'm going to be a teacher, I'm going to be held to a higher standard. And it's amazing that you can go to college and you don't think you know as much as your professor. As a matter of fact, you go to kindergarten and you don't think you know as much as your kindergarten teacher. But when you get to church, everybody knows more than the preacher. Especially when he's telling you something you don't want to do in the first place. Yes, sir. So watch what Jacob did. When you don't know the name of something, you name it yourself. So Jacob named the place Peniel, which means face of God. For he said, I've seen God face to face, yet my life has been spared. The sun was rising as Jacob left Peniel, and he was limping because of his injury. Don't miss this. Don't miss this. Every time we have a crisis, and God wants to change us, every one of us must eventually come face to face with God and face our issues head on. It's only, I don't care how much you look in your banker's face, it's not going to change until you look in God's face. I don't care how much you look in your doctor's face, it's not going to change until you look at God face to face and say, God, I messed this mess up. I broke it. Here it is. I'm going to cooperate with you, and you fix it. Now watch what happens. And It's not an easy process. But you also need to realize, if it was not for the grace of God, I never would have made it. So watch what happens. He wrestles with this angel all night long, and eventually the angel gets tired and touches him on the hip. Why did he say he had wrestled with God? He said he had wrestled with God because the man knew everything about it. He knew everything about it. And let me tell you, when you wrestle with God, God knows everything. You can fool other folks, but God knows everything about you. And he'll send somebody into your situation and into your circumstances, and they may have to hurt you. When God touches us, Sister Rushford, you had a long surgery, and we thank God that you made it through. But one thing about it, as you begin to heal, what's happening, that even though you're going to be better, it leaves. Somebody know where I'm going. Every one of us that has been through a surgery, in order to get better, it always leaves. But I guarantee you, the scar doesn't hurt as much as we got several of you that have sitting here now that have just recently come out of service. Sister Rush, not only Sister Rush, but Sister Cook and Sister Elliott. A lot of y'all just came out of surgery. And was the surgery painful? Yes, but there was a blessing in the cutting away of. Amen. Pain's been through surgery. All of y'all been through surgeries. And guess what? Just because I haven't been through one doesn't mean I'm not going to go through one. Amen. Matter of fact, if you're going to be changed, God says, as a matter of fact, he says that righteousness comes not away from the cutting away of the flesh, but the circumcision of the heart. God always does circumcision. So he left with a limp. Y'all don't miss this now. He left because whatever we do, God has to leave a mark. And it's interesting that Jacob's top thigh was touched because it's one of the strongest muscles in the body, if not the strongest muscle in the body. Oftentimes, God has to get our attention by touching us where we think we're strong. Jacob had done something. Watch what happens. Oftentimes, God already knows that our mere willpower and our own devices are not enough to effect real and permanent change in us. Or we may dress it up on the outside, but we're still messed up on the inside. Simply attacking the outward circumstances won't facilitate a change on the inside. And when God touches us, it leaves a mark. It leaves a mark. It no doubt leaves a mark. And simply attacking it is not going to help him. So we have to cooperate with God to allow him to change us inwardly so that the outer person will change. And when a real change comes into our lives, it becomes a blessing, even though we are left with a limp. Let me slow down. I'm trying to hurry this thing up. Jacob, now watch what he did. He touched his thigh, the strongest part of his body. But why did he touch his thigh? Look at Jacob's life. He cheated his brother and reigned. He cheated his uncle. Somebody don't bear me. So God said, I'm going to fix you. I'm going to stop you from messing up. I know how to do it. That lip will remind you for the rest of your life what you used to be. God often places a physical problem in our lives because he wants to bless us through. You remember his first wife, Leah? Yeah. She had weak eyes. She was cross-eyed. But her cross-eyed was a blessing to her. Every one of us has something that just ain't quite right, but it's a blessing to you. It's what makes you unique. It's what lets you know that God is still working with me. And God, don't look down on that scar, because that's what God is blessing with you. Paul had a misunderstanding about his God. Paul said, even though I had received such wonderful revelations from God, so to keep me from becoming proud, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger for Satan to torment me and to keep me from coming proud. See, when God blesses us, we get the big head. So Paul said, in order to keep me from wrecking myself, God gave me something to check myself.
All right.
That's why even I don't care how good you preach, I don't care how good you look, you ought to give God the glory. Because it ain't about you. And when I get to feeling too good about myself, and Walter, I get God sure was blessing me. I'm a preacher, I get to go everywhere to preach. Then I think back to the prophet. And he said, but my wife don't like to use that other word. He said a donkey to preach to a prophet. And if he uses a donkey, well, I'm preaching now, he just got two. You have to keep yourself humble. Paul finally realized that I need to cooperate with God. If he really wanted to change for the better and to be strong in spite of his weaknesses, Paul said, I need to do it on God's terms, not on my own. So here's what he said. Eventually he said, 3 times I begged the Lord to take it away. Each time he said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. So now I'm glad to boast about my weaknesses so that the power of Christ can work through me. Paul said I needed to cooperate with God because I was getting a big head, and my big head was making me think I was more than what I was. So here's what we need. You got to go through your conception. You ain't got nothing to do. If I had my way, it would have been T-Boone Pickens. Billionaire, in case y'all don't know who he is, billionaire. I wouldn't have picked Rossi and Clifford. I'd have been born to some of the richest folk in the world. But I might end up being poor in other ways. Crisis, you got to go through your crisis. And when you go through your crisis, you got to make a commitment. And then once you make a commitment, you got to confess who you really are. Then you got to cooperate with God. So here's our assignment. Here's our assignment. First, I want you to look introspect at yourself and be honest about what you see. Don't look at anybody else. The good news is that wherever everybody else saw it, here's the good news. Slow down, preacher. Where everybody else saw Jacob, God saw Israel. Everybody else saw a crook. God saw somebody much greater. He sees our potentials and not just our failures. He sees that every one of us, what we can become, even though we don't seem to be that right now. So just relax and cooperate with God. You may have a limp right now, but just limp on by the dope house. Limp on by the liquor house. Yeah, limp on by Brother Payne, limp on by Popeye. Limp by that phone that you want to stop at and gossip so bad on. Limp on by those attitudes and habits and hang-ups that hold you back. But while you're limping by all that other stuff, limp on into God's house. And you'll find a lot of crippled folks there just like you. The challenge for us. Just limp on by. Yeah, I got a limp, but God gave me my limp. Yes. God gave me this limp for a purpose. So your first assignment is look introspect at yourself. Be honest. What do you see? What do I really need God to change about me? All of us. See, some of us got to get past this point of looking at me and saying, I ain't as bad as so-and-so. Right. Doesn't matter. When you go to the doctor sitting in the office, just because somebody there got AIDS and you got a cold, you still sick. Because I got news for you. You don't take care of that cold will take you out here as fast as. Because that cold will turn into the flu, that flu will turn into all the time. We are all sick enough to die. So I need this. What do I really need, God? What do I see? What do I see in me? What kind of person am I really? Am I really a crook? See, some of us think, see, America has us thinking that being a con man is being a good businessman. How many folk you can cheat? How many folk you can underpay? How many folk you can mistreat? And the more money I make, then I'm really just a good businessman. No, you're a crook. Look, introspect at yourself and see, what is it? And then what is it that I really need God to change about me? And then I need to think about, where I am in these 5 steps. You pass born, everybody in here pass born because you're already here. You can't do nothing about that. But am I in my crisis step? Am I going from problem? Did you ever see you just going from problem? As soon as you get out of one problem, you're in another problem. And the reason is because I will make a commitment in the other check. You know, folk go to rehab and they do well, but give them a few months because you didn't make the commitment. And then once you make the commitment, what you got to do is you got to confess who you are. We talked about it, we've been talking about it all the time. You can't go to AA, you can't go to NA, you can't go to any help group without standing up and saying, my name is whatever, and I'm an alcoholic, I'm a drug addict, I'm a sex addict. You can't go anywhere without admitting who you are. But what's sad about it, Brother Scott, is you can't come into God's church without admitting I'm a sinner. But you can't stay unless you act like you ain't. You have to, folk come into the church being honest about who they are, but in order to stay here, we make them become hypocrites. Make them act like they don't have it. Oh, child, I'm just living and filled with. You are. And then you start to cooperate with God. God, I messed up. You know what I mean? It wouldn't make sense for me to go to my banker and tell him, I'm so deep in debt, I don't know what to do. I make that confession. He says, okay, Dwight, here's what we're going to do. We're going to work with you to get you out of debt. Then he starts working with me, paying my bills, loaning me a little money here and there to get my bills. Would it not be foolish? Would it not be foolish if I didn't cooperate with him? But when God starts trying to work with us, why do we not want to cooperate? Ask yourself the question, where am I in those things? Where am I in those processes? You know where you are. God knows where you are. And I'm just telling you, you ought to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. I know I look at myself and sometimes I say, Sister White, I look at myself and I say, I am so tired of doing things the same way, getting the same results, and then I'm crazy enough to get out and do the same thing again. And then, so here's the thing. If I fool you, y'all know what the preacher always says. If I fool you, that ain't too bad. If you fool me, that ain't too bad. But if I fool myself, I'm a fool indeed. If I want to change, now we're going to go through what change looks like. But that's the steps you're going to go through. You really want to change? If you're in crisis right now, thank God for your crisis. Don't you know why me? You ought to say, God, thank you, because you are through with me. You put me through this crisis because when tell you a secret. Tell you a secret, man. Won't help somebody here. If I ain't helping you, go out and help some of your friends. You may get upset, as most men, sometimes, I don't say most men, some men, because a lot of men are not. But we all know men. Trust me, none of us are them. Stay out all night, come home, get mad. They get mad because their wife fussing. You know when you ought to be concerned? When she stopped fussing. Huh? As long as she's fussing, you got a chance. But when she stopped fussing, she may have just beat you. Go check her hood. She may have just done it. It's the same thing. As long as God is chastising us, stop fussing. He's still concerned. But when he leaves you alone,
Yeah. All right now.
try to bless somebody this morning. And if I ain't blessing you, go out and be a blessing to somebody else. Go and tell your neighbor, man, as long as your wife fussing, be thankful. And stop before she stops fussing. Jesus knew we were in crisis. So he made a commitment to save us. How did he save us? He went to the cross. He died on the cross for folk like us. None of us are worthy of being saved. I don't care how good you look. I don't care how good you smell. I don't care how good you dress. You ain't that good. And see, we put value on stuff. Last night, I got a call last night, about 9 o'clock. Papa was in Dallas. He said, "Preacher, I need you to meet somebody at the funeral home in just a few minutes." I said, okay. Because we usually go get the body. Then he said, "They bringing a dog." Don't miss this. But these folk love their dog enough. But they want their dog to have a decent. Now, if folk can love a dog that way, you can understand why Jesus loves us. You're better than a dog. Jesus died for you. Jesus died. And he died for folk that were living like. That ain't pretty, but that's the fact. God died so that I might have a right. What do I need to do? I need to believe that he died for me. That's the first thing I need to do. I need to believe that Jesus died, and I'm selfish about this thing now. Jesus died for me. We laugh because my daughters will have a conversation, and they all do it, they just don't realize it. And then they get mad when the other ones say, your daughters, a couple of yours, especially a couple of them. Whenever they talk about you, they're going to say, "My dad," even if they're talking to, and they all tend to do it with each other. "Well, my daddy too." Well, you ought to be selfish about your dad. He's my daddy. He died for me. And then I need to change my mind about the way I've been living. I need to repent. And like I say, a lot of folk can't handle me because I know I've been baptized and I've been saved, but I have to go back to what folk understand sometimes. Yeah. See, that's the problem. Jesus did the same thing. Jesus told a lot of stories about what was going on in his lifetime. That's why you got parables to lay alongside. Brother Payne, you shouldn't say that. But I can tell folk what they relate to. And so what is repentance? And here I go. I'm going back to some stuff y'all may remember. If you don't remember, that's Big Mama. Because see, I don't know nothing about this new hippity hop stuff, but I do know the old one. You remember repentance. You remember Tyrone Davis, Sister White, you may not remember that. Sister Rush probably got that. 8-track. She got an 8-track. Tell her to play the 8-track. But Tyrone Davis, my boy Tyrone Davis out of Windy City in Chicago, he said, she didn't bat an eye as I packed my bag. Somebody saved with me. As I packed my bag, doing all the time. I didn't want to leave. That's how we do in the church. Sometimes we just leave God. God ain't done nothing to us. We just want him to beg us to stay.
All right.
Now, why the corner and he said, I just want to change. That's what repentance is. It's changing your mind.
All right.
And then it'll be like the prodigal son. See, Tyrone should have done like the prodigal son. When the prodigal son changed his mind, he went back home, and the father was looking for him to come back home. See, that's the problem. When folk change their mind and come back to God's house, we act like they don't belong here. Well, the problem may be you shouldn't have been here in the first place. They may not have left, but that's another sermon. Then after I change my mind, I need to confess. Young ladies, I'm just real. I'm just real. If he can't confess you at 12 noon,
Well,
don't let him confess you at midnight.
all right.
If he can't own you at lunchtime,
Yeah.
that's why I tell everywhere I go. I ain't that good, but Jesus is mine and I'm his. I'm one of as bad as children, but I'm still his child.
All right. All right.
Confess it. Then you go out in the water, raise baptism, become a Christian, nothing more, nothing less. And live as faithful as you can. And then you go, that's when your crisis is going to really start, because Satan is going to get upset. Then your crisis, God takes you through a crisis to change it, and Satan takes you through a crisis to change it back.
Well.
He doesn't want to give up on you. He wants he feels, even though you belong to God, he wants you to have. He comes to kill, to steal, and to destroy. I don't know where you are in your crisis, but I know that you can change today. You can get with God and start changing your crisis and your situation. And you know what? Your crisis may not change, but you'll look at it differently.
Yeah.
I take these glasses off, everything looks different. I can't see half of it. I put my glasses back on, ain't nothing changed. I can see it a different way. Let God give you some eyes of a different perspective as we together stand and sing our song of invitation.